As a Bengals fan for the past 20 years, it's kind of hard to process what they just did. First off, this is probably the biggest trade in Bengals history. They've made big trades to reset and start over, but they ain't never made a win-now move like this. Dexter Lawrence for the 10th overall pick straight up. Now the move, of course, doesn't come without risk. Bro, the risk is the best part about it. Now that might sound crazy, but I'm gonna show you a clip from 2024 where I break the Bengals down from that 1,000-foot view. The real issue, the heart of it, not the symptoms, you know? You might notice, bro, I barely talked about the Bengals since this video because until they made me update my take, I really ain't have nothing else to say. Alright, now so check this out because I'm gonna break this thing down. What are your goals? Just to be okay or to win a Super Bowl? Answer to that question is determined by your internal thermostat. No matter what quotes they put out, the Bengals have an internal thermostat that is set to whatever temperature represents mid. So no matter what happens, they will always fall right back to mid. Your true goals are not determined based off what you say. Your true goals are determined based off what you do. So the Bengals' true goal based on the way they move is not to be a perennial Super Bowl contender. The true goal based on the way that they move is to avoid being amongst the sorriest teams in the league. So what I'm saying is their goal is not to be the best. Their goal is simply not to be the worst. Now the Bengals' low thermostat has regulated a room with Burrow and Chase down to a mediocre temperature. You know how hard that thermostat has to work to do that? These dudes bring the heat in any room they step in. A high temperature team makes that trade for Max Crosby and or Marshawn Lattimore. A high temperature team makes big trades and they go for theirs in their window. But the Bengals organization, and I say this with love, their core identity is that of a mediocre team. So even with great players, we managed to fall into mediocrity. And honestly, it's pretty much just science at this point. So here's what I want you to take away from this piece. Don't be like my Bengals. Raise your thermostat and set higher, more challenging goals for yourself. You need to change your behaviors and mindset in order to do this. If you don't, you might experience short bursts of success, but you'll be destined to fall back down to the level you started at. Now, after that video, we did eventually sign T and Jamal, which was nice, but the whole process was like pulling teeth. T had to fire his agent and switch to Jamar's agent and basically force the Bengals to sign them both or sign neither. I never seen nothing like it. Now, contrary to what mainstream media will tell you, they did offer Trey Hendrickson a sizable contract. Now, here's the deal. They should have offered it a year earlier, and I think he felt disrespected while it was getting to that point. So the way they handled it, which was horrible per usual, left dude bitter and upset. But now he plays for a division rival, so they messed that up. Now, the Bengals opened free agency up with a bang, but the problem was they finished with a whimper. I thought the moves they made were really good moves. The problem was they just didn't make enough of them. But they replaced the worst player on a bad defense with a 26-year-old ascending player who graded in the top 5 of his position just last season. We brought in a good edge who's more of a 3-down player than the amazing pass rush specialist that we lost. It's not a one-to-one swap, but it's still a good piece, assuming you're going to add more pieces. They added Jonathan Allen for some interior pass rush, which we haven't had for multiple years. And don't get me wrong, bro, I look at sack numbers, but we have the internet, so it's really easy to just look at the cut-ups of all the pass rush reps or at least the pressures of these players, which is exactly what I do, because I really just want to know, like, are you winning and are you being disruptive in the backfield? Sometimes it don't always turn into sacks, but when you go and watch it and you start to realize, bro, this dude could have had like 4 sacks in this game, and if anybody else on the D-line would have won, it would have been a sack. And sometimes somebody else on the D-line does win, quarterback tries to move that way or step up in the pocket and it's a sack, but the player who created the havoc might not get the stat. So when we talking about having like a good team defense, individual sack numbers can be good, but if you look at teams like Seattle and the Patriots, like both of the teams that made it to the Super Bowl, the sack leaders on them teams had like 7 and 8 sacks. These was all great pieces to add along with somebody like a Trey Hendrickson, but they weren't sufficient in replacing Trey. That's why they needed to make another big move in free agency, which brings us back to the move for Dexter Lawrence. Now, I don't watch the Giants a ton, and this just happened last night, so at this point, all I've done is watched all his pressures from last year and the year before, just to get an idea of the player. I'll be watching more film cut-ups over the next week. I'm not like a film expert or nothing, but I just watch football, and when it comes to players at certain positions, any position, I do look at stats, but I don't just go off stats, especially when we just talking box score stats or PFF grades. Those can be good at a glance, but if you really want to understand what's going on, internet makes it easy to watch the clips. But Warren Sharp did post some interesting stats that you won't find on a box score. Here's what he said. Last year, even in a quote down year for Lawrence, the Giants defense with Dexter Lawrence off the field ranked last in yards per attempt. When he was on the field, they was top 10. When he was off the field, their sack rate was second worst in the league. When he was on the field, they was top 10. When he was off the field, they ranked 27th in EPA per pass. When he was on the field, they was top 10. When he was off the field, they was 26th in pass success. And when he was on the field, bro, they was top 10. And just to be clear, he reiterates this. That was a quote-unquote down year for Dexter Lawrence. The team was top 10 versus the pass when he was out there, and they was bottom 10 when he wasn't. Then he goes to show the same thing over a larger sample size over the past 3 years, and it looks pretty much the same. It's pretty crazy how one player can take a defense from bottom 5 to top 10. What other defense could possibly use that? Oh, wait a minute, it's the one he plays for now. Over the last 2 years, the Bengals set an all-time record for losses while scoring 30+ points. In the last 2 years, we've lost 7 games where the offense scored 30 or more. But you want me to be upset that we ain't getting a rookie? At one point last year, I nearly lost my mind. We scored 40 points in back-to-back games. And guess what, brother? We lost both of them. So you think we can use that Dexter Lawrence boost? You think it'll make a massive difference for the Bengals? Yeah, bro, it would. Now, the best kept secret on the Bengals is that DJ Turner had a Pro Bowl season. If he played for any team other than the Bengals, he probably would have been rewarded for that. Also, Dax Hill was solid on the other side. Both of these dudes are still young, super athletic, playing the best football of their career. And now that they have a reliable free safety, there's a really good chance they'll at least maintain, if not get better than they were last year. So the holes on defense that we actually had have, for the most part, been plugged up. And Myles Murphy started to come on next year, but that started to come on flash type of thing. He had about 6 sacks, and I thought he looked really good, but he still got to put that together for an entire season. But I'm saying I do like Myles Murphy as a player, and I think a lot of people probably forgot about him. We also have Shamar Stewart, who's a first-round pick. He ain't look good last year, but he was a rookie. He was injured a lot, so maybe with him. That was just a maybe. So in my opinion, I still think we need to add another edge, but even just as it stands now, the pass rush will be better than it was last year. But now with Dexter getting double teamed every play and still getting pressure up the middle, it should free some other guys up to make some things happen. So I think the Bengals have done a solid job of plugging all the holes, except when it comes to linebacker. Last year we had 2 rookies, and they was honestly the worst duo in the league. Now, of course, they was rookies, so we hope they get better this year. Dexter Lawrence should help with that to some extent, but that's the one position that I can't say I'm comfortable with, or I'm comfortable with how the Bengals have addressed it. So contrary to what I be hearing from all of these people, that's the biggest concern for the defense. But everything else has gotten better around them, so that can't be nothing but positive, bro. I'm hoping that at pick 41, Jacob Rodriguez is still there. I feel like we can grab him, but even if we do, we'll still be relying on a rookie. So it's not perfectly ideal, but given the options, that's probably my favorite one. But my overall thought is that the defense right now, just even as it stands, is head over heels better than the defense was last year. And even if we just go from bottom 3 to somewhere in the middle, that's all we need to be an easy playoff team. Now, a couple days ago, I messaged my boy about the possibility of this trade, because Bengals players have been doing that cryptic tweet thing for a couple weeks now, so I thought it might be possible. One thing I said I didn't want to give up was the number 10 pick this year. The reason was simple. I was being greedy. I wanted to get Dexter Lawrence and have a chance to snag a rookie at the number 10 pick. People like Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, or Ruben Baines were the guys that I wanted. But the closer we've gotten to the draft, the more it feels like Sonny Styles ain't gonna be there. And Ruben Baines, I'm not sure. And of course, he's got his concerns. And while I love Caleb Downs, I don't believe that none of those rookies will have an impact on our defense next season as Dexter Lawrence. So while I would have preferred to keep the 10th pick, if given the choice between between Dexter Lawrence and the 10th pick, give me Dexter. We ain't picking first overall, bro. We picking at 10. There's actually a chance that none of those guys will be there by the time we get to 10. A lot of fans who just generally don't like the Bengals like to kind of look at these things in a vacuum. You say, hey, get the younger player, he'll be better for longer. Well, first off, he's got to be good in the first place. Second off, he's got to become Pro Bowl caliber if he's going to be as good as Dexter Lawrence. The chances of that is already slim. Then he's got to do it in year 1, so the chances for that get even slimmer. Then you've got an off-ball linebacker, a safety, and an edge. Only one of those players can potentially make the impact on your defense as a dominant nose tackle who affects pass and run. We ain't some young rebuilding team that's hoping to peak in 2 or 3 years. Bengals is a team who's in their prime right now and in a few years might be on the decline. The Bengals nucleus of players aren't getting any younger, and we was in desperate need of a win now move. And while there's some players I like at the top of this draft who might be there at pick number 10, it's very unlikely that they're gonna have this type of effect on a defense in their very first year. Now check this out. I ain't saying they can't go to a defense that's already good and make an impact. That ain't what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I think it's extremely unlikely that they can go to a defense that's as bad as ours, one of the worst defenses in the league, and instantly make them a top 10 defense. We already know that's the type of impact that Lawrence can have. So if you still don't get my point, I don't know what else to say. Another angle that I want to cover on this that I haven't really seen people talk about is when it comes to trading the 10th pick. Now this is more for the people who are happy we got the player but are angry about the price. Those same people was sick in free agency. I know, because in free agency, I've stayed on Twitter and all we kept seeing is, hey, the Bengals are in on this player. The Bengals are in on that player. The Bengals are in here. And time after time after time after time, that player ended up signing somewhere else. It's like people wanted this to be another one of those situations where the Bengals refused to trade pick 10, or they insisted on getting a 5th round pick back. It would be incredibly stupid to lose out on this deal because you're doing what the Bengals normally do and trying to carve around the margin. Bro, trade the pick, give him the same contract that you tried to give Trey Hendrickson, and let's roll. Because if we didn't get him, there was another team in on him, a team that we would have to play twice a year who would pair dude up with Myles Garrett. Under that scenario, we probably finished last in the division. But now we living in a very different timeline, and we don't know the outcome. We never know the outcome. But me, I'm perfectly at peace with that. The last angle I'm gonna cover is the locker room. Bro, a couple years back, man, the vibes was immaculate. But a few years with no playoffs can really shift things. Now, our guys have been pros and they do their jobs, and for the most part, they say the right thing, but you can literally feel the tension building. And it's not just because we've been losing the last few years. It's because the front office has not done everything they could to put us in the best position to win. They've pinched pennies, tried to hold on to money, and move like they don't care about the Super Bowl. Like I said in the old video, they was never moving like they was trying to be the best. They was just moving like a team that didn't want to be the worst. As long as we was alright, they was cool. And they'll give a stupid blanket statement like, it's hard to win in this league. It's even harder when you don't manage your contracts right, keep missing in the draft, and still don't sign free agents. But I felt like last year was the first time that Burrow really publicly started to show frustration. And I thought Jamar and T took things even further. On top of all of that, bro, I've heard that the season ticket holders starting to cancel their tickets. Everybody's tired of it. And like I said, bro, it's not just because we was losing. It's because the organization refused to put all their chips on the table. They refused to restructure contracts in a way to maximize cap space. They refused to use the tools that every other team uses. And it ends up placing the players at a crazy disadvantage. But a move like this re-energizes the locker room. All those guys have been excited over on social media. And it's gotta be nice to know that one of the worst defenses in the NFL, who just lost its star player, didn't just sit on their hands and do nothing like it was looking like they were about to do. So for any team to make this move would have been a big move, but for the Bengals to make this move, bro, this is massive. I think it'll work on 3 or 4 different levels. I believe it's a thermostat changing move. Let's just hope Mike Brown don't wake up like,
without your thermostat.
All right, just to recap, bro, I'm happy with the move. I ain't gonna make no crazy predictions because my fan brain going right now. I do wish we could have kept the 10th pick for a few reasons, and one is just for the excitement of the draft. But if I personally was in the Bengals shoes, and I don't say this often, but if I was in their shoes, I would have done the exact same thing that they did. If that's what I had to do to close this deal, I would have done it and closed this deal. So shout out to the Bengals, man. I hope the thermostat stays up, but you know, we'll see. Hopefully the draft goes well. I'll be ready on day 2. Thanks for watching. Stay blessed, and I'm out.